The Dow passes 30,000 and Donald Trump gets in for a brief 1 minute press conference over it. So we'll talk just a bit about what's going on with that coming up today. A New York gym owner tears up his $15,000 fine right in front of God and everybody. Good on him. Because the government is too tyrannical anyway. So we'll talk a bit about what's going on there. Ghislaine Maxwell is being checked on and woken up every 15 minutes to prevent her suicide. Weird. I've never heard of anything like that. But we'll talk a bit about what's going on there. And Alyssa Milano has the olive branch out. Is she sincere? Or is it a trap? I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, folks. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar. We've got a bunch of stuff to get to today here, including a couple things that I was able to pop right up just as I was hitting the live button here. But the news stops for nobody, and even with some of the departments getting ready to go in for their transition, we still have a lot of fight to go on here. So we prepare for this, both sides at this point, whether it be Trump or whether it be Biden. You should always be prepared no matter what. But, a lot of the country isn't preparing for the fact that Trump might pull it off and everybody else might burn the country down. Always be prepared for everything. Always question everything. Those are the two mottos that we have here. But before we get into any of this, head on over to freedomscoop.com. Freedomscoop.com is going to be your one-stop shop for all of your news and commentary needs. We carry great shows such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Generational Gap. We also carry The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The Freckles and Brit Show, and The R-Rated Conservative. Come on over, pick up some of our swag, help us support great creators, and help us go forward with our mission. Because we want to get the information out there, outside of the mainstream bias. So help us out, tell a friend, tell 10 friends, and get some people on over to freedomscoop.com. All right, looking at the stocks. As mentioned at the top of the show, the Dow has hit 30,000 for the first time in history. And both presidential candidates want to claim credit for it. It's going to be a combination of things. The way that the world has anticipated the election is going to come out. The way that everyone thinks that Trump is going to do and he's going to pull it off. The vaccine, the businesses opening, the people defying the orders. There are a lot of things that are going to determine where we are going to go with the stock market and the reason that it's up over 30,000. And the investors are going to have plenty to say about this. But that's what we're seeing right now. 30,046.24. And I bet you those progressives hate that with a passion, because that's going to make it really hard for them to launch their revolution. Let's see what the investors have to say about this, though. Starting with Investors Business Daily, Dow Jones Futures, Dow makes history as Tesla, NIO set record highs. Hot IPO stocks, Corsair, Palantir skyrocket from Scott Latonin. Dow Jones Futures and S&P 500 futures fell early Wednesday, while Nasdaq 100 futures rose modestly after the Dow Jones Industrial Average made history Tuesday. NIO and Tesla set all-time highs, while Apple rebounded. Hot IPO stocks, Corsair, Gaming, and Palantir Technologies continued their recent surges. The Dow Jones Industrial Average advanced 1.5% or 454 points. The S&P 500 rallied 1.6%, while the tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite moved up 1.3%. The Dow Jones Industrials topped 30,000 level for the first time in history. Among the Dow Jones leaders, Apple rose 1.2%, while Microsoft advanced 1.8%. Meanwhile, Salesforce.com is once again approaching a new buy point amid Tuesday's 1.2% rally. Tesla jumped 6.4% to hit another all-time high, while rival Chinese NIO briefly raced to new highs, but NIO reversed 3.4% lower, ending a 3-day win streak. Stocks in or nearby zones in the stock market rally are AMD, FedEx, and Zoomies. Hot IPO stocks, Corsair Gaming and Palantir Technologies, ended Tuesday more than 100% above their recent buy points. Microsoft, Palantir, and Tesla are on the IBD leaderboard. Apple is on the IBD leaderboard watch list. AMD and Zoomies were featured in this week's Stocks Near a Buy Zone column. On the futures, early Wednesday, Dow futures fell 0.2% versus fair value, while S&P 500 futures were down 0.1%. NASDAQ 100 futures gained 0.2% versus fair value. Remember, trading in Dow Jones futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. And as has been pointed out in numerous cases, when we look back and we see who is up on the rise, who's on the leaderboard, and who is making bank out of this lockdown, it's always the big, huge companies, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, all these gigantic technology companies that have streaming, online purchasing, to-your-door delivery. They're the ones that are thriving in all of this because the governments shut down all the small businesses and got everybody up out of the way so that their big buddies over at the Washington Post and Amazon and Microsoft and all of them, they could all thrive while all these small businesses and startups go down the fucking toilet. So just keep that in mind as we sit back and look at what's going to happen under a Beijing Biden presidency if he can manage to get himself asterisked in. Let's keep going. From Fox Business, Dow 30,000 makes history. S&P hits fresh record on Yellen vaccine optimism. From Jonathan Garber, U.S. equity markets rallied sharply Tuesday, catapulting the Dow Jones Industrial Average to above 30,000 level for the first time since the S&P 500 also booked a fresh record. Vaccine optimism, combined with another solid read on the U.S. home prices, drove a broad market rally led by Dow members Chevron, J.P. Morgan, and IBM. President Trump, speaking at the White House, called the level a sacred number. It's sacred. We'll talk about this coming up here, so we're not going to get too far into the press conference. The rally was also supported by the likelihood of projected President-elect Joe Biden will be formally appoint former... Wow, I can read this morning. The rally was also supported by the likelihood that projected President-elect Joe Biden will formally appoint former Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen as his would-be Treasury Secretary. Yeah, that's what we need. Print more money, make more debt, inflate it more. The Dow Jones Industrial Average climbed 454 points, or 1.54%, while the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ Composite added 1.62% and 1.31% respectively, with all 11 of the major sectors rising. The S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller Index for September showed home prices rose 6.6% year over year, making for their biggest annual increase since April 2018. Prices in Phoenix remained red hot, growing 11.4% annual pace. It's because everybody's moving over from California to get away from California taxes, continue to have the hot desert weather, and wreck Arizona. I see what's happening here. And we're seeing a lot of this around here too. I mean, home prices are going up because people are leaving your Madisons, your Milwaukees, Chicago's even, to come get a taste of the country life now that they know that, and it's country life, by the way, definitely not in the country, but I'm country adjacent. Let's put it that way. But to come get the taste of that country life because they can telecommute now and they don't have to be sitting in the middle of their office to get that high-paying, cushy office job that they went $70 million into fucking debt for. Oil giants such as ExxonMobil Corp and ConocoPhillips rose as West Texas Intermediate crude oil climbed $184 to $44.91 per barrel, the highest since March. Which is weird because gas keeps dropping here. Other stocks tied to the reopening of the economy include cruise operators and airlines, were also higher. Tesla shares finished in record territory above $500 for the first time, a day after CEO Elon Musk became the world's second wealthiest person. Other electric vehicle makers, including NIO and Li Auto, ended mixed. So that's what we're seeing up off the stocks. It's a bit of an interesting thing to see. And, top comment here. The stock market does not reflect the current state of the economy. No, it's a projection of what the economy is going to do from what they think. So that's what they're seeing off of this. Congratulations on President Trump for getting the Dow up over 30,000, even though I think that the news media and their kissing of the ass of Biden has something to do with that as well. So let's talk a little bit about this press conference before we get into the big news of the day. From Politico, Trump pops into the White House briefing room for a 1-minute impromptu speech. From Nick Nidzwayadik. Wow, that's a weird last name. I wonder where that comes from. President Trump has kept an unusually low profile since his election defeat, making few public appearances and hardly speaking except for on Twitter. Well, that's probably a good thing, actually, because, he says things. He says a lot of things. And in all honesty, as much as his fans love it, as much as they adore the fact that he gets out there and says, "No, you're wrong. I am the greatest president ever," and stuff like that, Trump is really his own worst enemy when it comes to his mouth and his lack of filter. He is his own worst enemy, and every time he talks, he gets more and more people angry with him. So I'm guessing his lawyers, as they're going through the legal process right now, are telling him, no, Don, just sit back in the Oval Office. Put your phone down. No. Put your phone down. Don't tweet that. Because, as we mentioned, with Tucker Carlson coming out and saying, well, Sidney Powell, just show us the evidence up on TV. Show us the evidence and we'll figure out how to get it out to the defense attorneys so that they can write a better defense and they can take the evil orange man down. They know that if Trump has his Twitter and his phone, he will give away the whole legal case because he's got a big mouth. For all the good that he did out of this country for the last 4 years, he's got a big mouth. But let's see what he has to say about this. But when the Dow Jones Industrial Average crossed 30,000 for the first time on Tuesday, Trump emerged to take a victory lap. "That's a sacred number," said Trump, who has long fixated on the stock market as a barometer of his administration's economic performance. "Nobody thought they'd ever see it." The appearance lasted just over a minute, and reporters were given hardly any notice, showing the hastiness of the remarks. The index had hovered near that mark earlier this month amid news that vaccines for the coronavirus demonstrated effectiveness and could soon receive emergency authorization. The market crested Tuesday after the GSA administrator, the night before, cleared the way for President-elect Joe Biden to begin coordinating with the government he will take over in January. Asterisk. We haven't determined that yet. "I'm very thrilled with what has happened on the vaccine front," Trump said, with Vice President Mike Pence by his side. "That's been absolutely incredible. The best, the greatest. I have the best vaccines, okay? They're the greatest vaccines out there." The appearance was not on the president's schedule until moments before he showed up, and Trump took no questions from the press before exiting the room. Also, probably a good thing because he likes to talk, and you know what they wanted to ask him. You know what he wants to or what they want to ask him. "Mr. Trump, what's the evidence in all your cases?" And then, no filter Trump. "Well, here's the evidence, okay? Are you listening, defense attorneys? Here's the evidence." The index stayed above the 30,000 mark for much of the day and closed at 30,046, up more than 450 points over the previous day. However, a separate closely watched indicator, the U.S. consumer confidence, sagged in November, according to figures released. That's because they're trying to send people home and not let them go to work and not let them go and spend time with their families and arresting people who are doing so. According to figures released on Tuesday, painting a more nuanced picture of the economy as coronavirus rages across much of the country. Later in the afternoon, Trump held an annual turkey pardoning ceremony, a typically lighthearted event the president has seemingly reveled in over his prior 3 years in office. "Thanksgiving is a very special day for the turkeys, and by the turkeys, I mean the Democrats, because the Democrats, they're the worst. They're turkeys over there, okay?" Trump said from the White House Rose Garden during the event. "Not a very good one when you think about it." So, he got up there, talked for a minute, pardon the turkeys, went back into hiding, which once again is probably the best place for him at this point. Let's keep going. I hear the police. All right, from the Daily Wire, New York gym owner rips up $15,000 lockdown fine. We will not comply, from Amanda Prestigiacomo. Even just on that headline. Bravo, bravo. Do more of that. A U.S. military veteran and gym owner in New York ripped up a $15,000 lockdown fine from the Erie County Health Department during a live Fox News appearance on Tuesday. Robbie De Niro, owner of Orchard Park's Athletes Unleashed Gym, was hit with a massive fine following a confrontation with a health department official and Erie County sheriffs on Friday for holding an after-hours protest in his closed gym with other business owners. The confrontation, reported by the Daily Wire, ended with the government officials being ushered off gym owner's property. Get a warrant! Get a fucking warrant! Get out! Get out! Yeah, we saw that yesterday. I was happy to see that yesterday. Very much, very, very happy. Speaking with Fox News' Sandra Smith, De Niro argued that the lockdown edicts go too far, denying Americans the freedom of earning a living. Simultaneously, the veteran underscored New York Democratic Governor Andrew Cuomo, which we will be hearing from very shortly in the next tab, I believe. Yup. Are bringing in $225,000 and $103,000 salaries, respectively, via taxpayers. I haven't even had a chance to touch on that yet, but Cuomo just authorized himself a gigantic pay raise, too. While nobody else can go to work. De Niro challenged the New York officials to look their constituents, children, in the eyes and tell them their parents' work is not essential. Before signing off with Smith, the business took the $15,000 fine and ripped it up, as supporters gathered behind him chanted, "We will not comply," and waved American flags. Erie County Comptroller Stephen Michaliu, how would you pronounce that? If you saw that name, because I have no idea. I butcher last names to begin with, but still. Posted a link to a GoFundMe account for De Niro on Twitter on Tuesday. Poland Cars' health department fined Marine, war veteran, and business owner Robbie De Niro $15,000, he wrote. Kicked him out of his gym. Video went viral, sparked the resistance against tyrannical politicians. Please share our GoFundMe. Help him fight against this $15,000 fine, which I will retweet this once we get off the air and put it up in the Discord, because I'm sure that you guys would like to throw maybe a 5 or 10 into this one as well. I would. As noted by the Daily Wire, De Niro and other business owners refused to comply when a health department official and the Erie County Sheriff's Department entered their facility on Friday. The business owners, who taped the interaction, told the health department officials and the sheriffs to go get a warrant and leave the private property. To cheers from the business owners, the authorities complied, leaving the gym and the front of the business. Video shows. Oh, you know what? We're going to get popped on this anyway. We can't monetize on YouTube because, controversial opinions. But you know what? Still, let's have a watch on this. See if they'll kick me off. Turn your ears on over here.
I'm Sandra Smith in for Martha McCallum. And this is the story. As millions of Americans hunker down this year for a socially distanced Thanksgiving, millions of others are hitting the road. In fact, the TSA is reporting the highest number of travelers. Businesses cannot serve alcohol on Thanksgiving Eve.
The biggest day for
and it's keeping everyone.
And then there is this.
Hear that.
I know you are, and I'm just
New York, and he joins us now. Robbie, good evening and welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me here.
You've got quite a crowd there behind you. I'll let you tell me about that in just a moment. But what did we just see happen in that video?
They're still coming in.
I've got you. You're live on TV right now, Robbie. What happened in that video that we all just saw?
Okay. I posted on Facebook Friday night that I wanted to get together, business owners, and protest and fight the lockdown that I feel is infringing upon our freedom. They showed up Friday night. We were about 20 minutes into that meeting when some sheriffs and a Department of Health official showed up uninvited. My business was closed. We were not conducting business. This was a protest. They walked in uninvited. A couple of the patriots that were here with me said, "Hey, Robbie, there's some sheriffs here and Department of Health officials. What do you want us to do?" And I said, "Get them to leave." And, well, the video speaks for themselves. Those patriots took it upon themselves to stand shoulder to shoulder and tell them to get out. And we were right, because if we were wrong, they would have called for backup and come back. But they didn't. They left.
It is our understanding, though, there is an update to this story tonight, and the Department of Health did come knocking this evening. What happened?
They did. My business is closed, just like they want me to. But I was here after hours, and the sheriffs came again, escorting a Department of Health official. I told them to get off my property. I told them that there are procedures they need to follow. This is after hours, and they have no right to be on my property without a warrant. I told them to come back. He said he wanted to deliver this piece of paper in an envelope. I said, nope, call, make an appointment. It's after hours. You can call and make an appointment. He taped it to the door. I finished kicking him off my property, and I opened it up, and it is a fine for $15,000.
Robbie, why do you feel these restrictions go too far?
Any infringement on our liberty goes too far. We were born with inalienable rights bestowed upon us by our Creator. They are guaranteed by the Constitution, specifically the Bill of Rights, the First through 14th Amendments, specifically. Any infringement on our freedom for any reason is too far. Our freedom cannot end where people's fear starts.
And I want to make everyone well aware that you're a native of New York. You've spent 14 years serving as an infantry officer in the United States Marine Corps. You've earned many honors in the military. You've got 4 children. We know it's a tough situation. We see your supporters there behind you. How far do you plan to go with this?
I plan to take it as far as I possibly can. I want to ask Governor Cuomo and polling cars, I want to ask them, it's a challenge to them. Come to my dinner table. Come to any of the dinner tables back here. Look our kids in the eyes and say, your father, your mother is an essential worker. They don't have the guts to do that. They also don't have the guts to answer why they get to draw a $225,000 salary for Governor Cuomo, and for polling cars, a $103,000 salary, but the working man and woman doesn't get to earn. They get to take our money, but we don't get to earn. They don't have the guts to tell us that. That's the worst kind of leadership.
Your story is getting a lot of attention. We thank you for your service, and we'll continue to watch where this story goes. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Hear, hear. That's awesome. All right, so that is him tearing that back up and his thoughts on that. I don't know what you guys think about that. We will. I'll check in with that afterwards, and we might talk about this tomorrow morning too. Remember, we're doing a stream in the morning. Calls, what we're thankful for, and just a little bit of news. We're not going to focus on a lot of news because it's Thanksgiving. But we'll do just a little bit of news. Talk a little bit about that. But I definitely want to hear your calls and what you guys are thankful for. So I actually might even have a phone number set up for that too. So we'll see what's going on with that. But that is awesome right there. All right, let's keep going. Over on Twitter, tweeted out from Yassi Gestetner. Governor Cuomo says that sheriffs who don't enforce his dictatorial coronavirus laws are dictators. Yes, the sheriffs that don't enforce the laws are the dictators. Oh, I gotta turn the desktop audio on, don't I? Otherwise, you guys won't be able to hear it.
You don't have the right to pick laws that you think you will enforce, and you don't enforce laws that you don't agree with, right? That's not a law enforcement officer. That's a dictator.
Yeah, I'd love to hear his rationality behind that, because there doesn't appear to be any rationality whatsoever. That's a dictator, okay? You do what I say, or you're a dictator, okay? Let's keep going. From the Blaze, top tech censorship. I want to be informed. Well, I read your publication every morning. It's only mildly informative. But we picked the best ones to go with it anyway. Yes, and the person who used to represent this little district that I'm sitting in right now, Paul Ryan, calls on Trump to concede the election and end legal challenges. Trump legal team responds. From Carlos Garcia. Former Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, called on President Donald Trump to concede the election and accused his lawyers of spreading baseless conspiracy theories without evidence to continue their challenges to the election results. Ryan made the comments Tuesday while speaking at the Bank of America's virtual European Credit Conference. Why is this dude still a fucking thing? Why? Somebody explain that to me. I think maybe even more important is that these legal challenges to the outcome and the attacks on our voting system really need to stop. In my opinion, the outcome will not be changed, and it will only serve to undermine our faith in the system of government, our faith in our democracy, said Ryan, according to Politico. He went on to criticize the president's legal team for the accusations they made about the massive voter fraud in the election. I know firsthand what it's like to lose a national election. You know secondhand what it's like to lose a national election. And it is a terrible feeling. It's not pleasant. And I know there are a lot of people in this country who are really disappointed, said Ryan, who was the GOP vice presidential nominee in 2012. I don't really think it's important, but I think it's really important that we're clear about this, which is the mere fact that the president's lawyers throw out these sort of baseless conspiracy theories out at a press conference but offer no evidence that these in court tells you that there's not the kind of widespread voter fraud or systemic voter fraud that would be required to overturn the outcome of this election, he added. In response to the comments from Paul Ryan, Trump campaign advisor Jen Ellis retweeted a dismissive message from pro-Trump entertainment's Diamond and Silk and offered her own mockery. As President Trump would say, "Don't be a cutie pie, Paul Ryan," Ellis tweeted. And Diamond and Silk put out, "Who gives a zuck about what Paul Ryan thinks?" Paul Ryan was a good representative when he was just a baseline representative. When he became Speaker of the... Well, first when he got nominated for vice presidential candidate, he turned into a total little bitch. And then when he was the Speaker of the House, he became even more of a little bitch. And now, well, I can't be in the House of Representatives in the same party as Donald Trump. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to Washington, D.C. and be a lobbyist. And I'm going to hold on to that juicy Janesville property so nobody else can have it. I'll never go there, but I'm going to hold on to that juicy property and then just go live in D.C. and be a lobbyist. And you wonder why nobody likes this guy. And yes, he still owns his house in Janesville. I know where it is. It's like the most expensive piece of property in that city. But he never goes there. All right, let's keep going here. Chuck Callisto tweets out, "Breaking report, ballots cast by the dead emerge in extremely tight 22nd Congressional District, Central New York election. We are fighting for our lives in this election. We're researching military ballots in Fulton County, Georgia. Time is very crucial. Legal advisors, researchers, very short time frame. If you can help, now is the time. Scan the link before." So they've got a PayPal out here to help fund the cost of doing the recounts and the audits here. I was not able to find any NewsGuard verified confirmation about ballots cast by the dead. Surprise, surprise. But they are having problems in New York 22nd. From CNY Central, citing major issues, judge pauses New York 22nd court proceedings until after Thanksgiving weekend. From Tommy Sladek. Legal proceedings over contested ballots for one of the last undecided House races is playing out like a bad movie. Oswego County Supreme Court Justice Scott Del Conte issued an injunction late Tuesday afternoon, putting the review and eventual ruling of contested ballots in New York's 22nd congressional race on pause until next week. Republican Claudia Tenney currently leads Democratic incumbent Anthony Brindisi by just a few hundred votes at most. Del Conte says lawyers still haven't received the final ballot counts from a number of county boards of elections, and he's finding multiple counties have not followed state election law. The reasoning and ruling for the objection should be written directly on that ballot. Instead, Oneida, Madison, and now Shenango counties either use sticky notes or no notes at all. Most of these stickies are missing. Oh, Jesus Christ. They found another gate. It's Stickygate. Stickygate, I'm telling you. Right back into hashtag Stickygate. If the clock runs out on us, I do have the authority to recanvass. I use protective orders so we could have meaningful order. Now what are we supposed to do? Justice Scott Del Conte, New York 22nd. Stickygate. Seriously? Stickygate. Shenango County now in the hot seat. In Oneida, not only is it unclear why 8 to 10 ballots were objected to in the first place, but whether they were already counted. The judge discussed the possibility of a recanvassing or a recount. In Oneida County, I see Alan Louise Jewin over here, and he had made a special request over there, and I do want to address that really quick here since he's in here. I want to let you know that I took your advice and we are doing a great reset across the board coming up on Saturday. I don't know if you're going to stick around for the rest of the show, so I wanted to get that out there for you right now. So on Saturday at 5:30, we're doing across the board. I've got 2 guests confirmed and 2 on the bubble right now, but we'll have 4 people sitting around and we are going to talk about the great reset. So thanks for the idea. We'll be doing that. Now back to the news. Madison County Board of Elections Commissioners submitted a spreadsheet with information, but Del Conte says he doesn't know if he can go off a spreadsheet alone. Hashtag New York 22nd and hashtag Stickygate have slowly started to pick up national attention on social media. The nature of the bench trial is comical in it of itself. I don't know if he wrote that right. Comical in it of itself. I think that's in... I don't know what that's supposed to be, but that doesn't sound right. In and of itself, I think it's supposed to be. The media is observing the Oswego County courtroom via video feeds from courtrooms in other counties. We're not allowed to record video or sound. Stickygate. Jesus Christ. There's a gate for everything. It's Gate. But we'll see what happens off of this. Let's keep going. Back from Twitch. This is a funny one. They think they're going to own the cons by doing this here. My VP looks like me at Naomi's daughter. Tweets out 23 hours ago. Hashtag write in Trump for Georgia and own the libs. So what this tweeter is intending to do is convince all of the Trump voters in Georgia to write in Trump for their Senate seats in the runoff to own the libs. That should actually be reported for election misinformation, but I doubt it'll go anywhere because, I don't know. It's just a joke, man. But you know the joke about vote on the day after election day. You know that might be election misinformation. But this, man, that's just a joke, man. We don't have to worry about that. Fucking morons. Let's keep going. Speaking of the Georgia runoffs, Senator David Perdue invites AOC to state to campaign for his opponent. From Tamir Lapine, writing over from the New York Post. Republican Senator David Perdue on Tuesday invited New York Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to come down to Georgia because she was looking for a soul to steal. She was in a bind because she was way behind. She was looking to make a deal. If the devil is ever at your door and you feel like you have no hope left, you just open the door, look at the devil and say, you know what? I'm not the ethereal being that lost a violin contest to some redneck sitting on a stump. The incumbent senator, who is facing off against John Ossoff in a heated January 5th runoff election, appeared to want to speak to the lefty congresswoman about her support of the Green New Deal. I won't buy her a ticket. I want her to come, Perdue said on Fox and Friends. Perdue and his fellow GOP incumbent Senator Kelly Loeffler are battling Democratic challengers in a pair of high-stakes runoff elections that would determine which party takes control of the Senate in January. President-elect Joe Biden is expected to travel to the Peach State to campaign for the two Democrats. Jesus Christ. Can you imagine that? Well, I got hairy legs, man, and, you know, when I'm in the pool here in the great state of Vermont. Joe, you're in Georgia. I mean Kentucky. When I'm here and talking to these wonderful people like Mitt Romney over here, I want to see him win this runoff election. Purdue said Ocasio-Cortez wants the Green New Deal without compromise. Fact check true. When the Democrats total control, which is what they want, you will end up with massive sweeping changes in America that you would never be able to do with a bipartisan requirement, the senator said. Loeffler, who is facing off against the Reverend Raphael Warnock, has also dragged Ocasio-Cortez into the race, responding to a tweet the Congresswoman posted last week that said that people needed to stay home in order for the country to get the coronavirus pandemic under control. AOC wants to lock our economy, lock the American people in their homes, and put the government in charge of every single part of our lives, Loeffler wrote on Twitter, adding, it was no wonder that Ocasio-Cortez supported Warnock. Ocasio-Cortez fired back that disclosures show that you seem to have gifted yourself a private jet on public dime. No, that's not true. And exploited corrupt tax loopholes to do it. If you don't like the loopholes, AOC, change the law. You're in Congress! Citing an article from the ever objective Salon. If you're happy helping yourself to public funds, maybe take a seat before arguing against stimulus checks that help everyday people in a pandemic. Oh boy, there's so much wrong with that, but yeah, let's bring her down and put her out in front of people of Georgia and see what they think of her. All right, here is the title article. It's not an article, it's a tweet. Alyssa Milano tweets out yesterday, I would like to extend an olive branch to Trump supporters. I'm ready to #move forward together. There's much work to be done to heal this nation. Let's be part of the solution and not add to the problems that we face. My comments are open. Please reply with #forward together. And then she goes on and says, we're going to need a lot of humanity and compassion right now. Anger and triumphalism is less helpful. And Freckled Liberty, first off, comes out and says, apologize, which she needs to do. But this, I looked at this, and I said, this is a trap. This is 100% a trap. If she's going to come out here and open her comments for the first time after calling Trump supporters, and anybody who's not a Biden supporter, by the way, because she had a lot of words to say to the Liberty Movement, to the Greens. Who else did she hit? The ANCAPs. Anybody who wasn't a Biden supporter, she hit all the same. She is looking for people to come out and put these hateful comments on here because I have a feeling your salons, your Voxes, and your Vices are now about to come and put these on display and say, see all these unhinged Trump supporters? Look at them. They're so hateful. They're so hateful to humanity. It doesn't matter that we called them racist for 4 years. Look at them. They're so hateful. We're reaching out the arm to them. This was a trap. And I knew it was a trap. And it got ratioed appropriately by people that were pretty much telling Alyssa to go and fuck herself. Now, I'm in no hurry to work together with these people that thought that anybody who is against massive sweeping government changes, putting a war hawk back in the White House, putting a war hawk in the Naval Observatory, anybody who was against these things was a racist and a sexist and a homophobe and a bigot and all the other words that they like to throw around with that. But I'm not going to put that vocally in that comment section because they are just digging for that. Media Matters and Vox and Salon, they're digging. They want that out there because they want the articles. All right, let's keep going. From Fox News. Speaking of the olive branch, Chris Evans and Zach Braff will never forget Trump enablers. from Julius Young. Chris Evans and Zach Braff aren't forgetting those who enabled President Trump. Braff, 45, tweeted on November 18th that he would never forget all these enablers, and Evans, 39, followed up the next day with a tweet of his own to remember who said nothing. The memoranda from the Scrubs star and Captain America franchise performer came on the heels of ongoing speculation from GOP voters that Trump had lost the 2020 presidential election due to alleged voter fraud. Many on social media sided with the stars. Of course they did. Oh, Chris Evans, he's so cute. I just want to like everything that he does. While there were others who also hit back at Braff and Evans, with one Twitter user responding to Braff, "Never forget, you're just an actor." Another social media user chimed, "Whoa, I had forgotten about you. Thanks for popping in before you get canceled, though. It's only a matter of time. Best of luck." Other Twitter users found it difficult to decipher what Evans was even referring to with the vagueness of the tweet. I don't know, I'm pretty positive it's a Nazi reference, since that's the only thing that they know how to do. I mean, it's not hard. It's not hard to know where they're going with this kind of thing. "What's this about?" inquired one responder. "I love a good mystery, but it's been a tough week." Additionally, a separate Twitter user said that they were shaking their head at all the retweets and likes of people who don't know what it's for. So yes, they'll never forget the Trump enablers. Let's keep going. From MarketWatch, Biden says immigration bill overturning Trump's executive orders will be priorities in the first 100 days. From Mike Murphy, Biden tells NBC News he'll seek a bill that provides a pathway to citizenship for over 11 million undocumented people. And it will fail. President-elect Joe Biden intends to spend his first 100 days in the White House working on an immigration bill and rolling back President Trump's executive orders. Yeah, that's usually what you do in the first 100 days of your presidency. Roll back your predecessor's EOs. That's what the Democrat told Lester Holt of NBC News in an interview broadcast Tuesday night. Let's listen.
The team meets this moment. This team behind me.
You announced some key members of your cabinet today, a very experienced group, a very diverse group. Clearly, you're trying to send a message. Can you articulate what that message is?
America's back. We're at the head of the table once again. I've spoken with over 20 world leaders, and they all are literally really pleased and somewhat excited. America's going to reassert its role in the world and be
I love how it says at the bottom of that, this is not a third Obama term.
a coalition builder.
This lineup, those you've selected so far.
This isn't going to go anywhere into what the article is about here. But essentially on this point here, he's going to do what I told Trump that he needed to do. Path to citizenship for the Dreamers and the DACA. Path to citizenship for everybody who's illegal in the country. And I said, if you do that, you will win this election hands down. But of course, the Supreme Court blocked the stoppage of the DACA program because that's what they do over in the Supreme Court. And now he's going to come out and he's going to be the hero to 11 million undocumented immigrants. And guess who they're going to vote for come November when it's the Democrat that comes and does this? Guess who they're going to vote for? This is all politics and using these people as pawns. But the other side of that, of course, is the idea that he probably won't do that. He'll come back and promise it. And even possibly get the House, under their slim majority, to put out a bill. And then he can come out for the next 4 years and say, I got hairy legs, and that was the summer that I learned about roaches. And then when they put him back on his uppers and remind him where he is, he can say, those evil Republicans, all that they did was they blocked every attempt. Sorry, guys, you can't be citizens because the evil Republicans blocked you. And then he and Kamala can run on this in 4 more years. Making the big assumption, of course, the fact that Biden would actually be alive in 4 more years. It's never about solving a problem over in the government. It's always about making sure that the problem stays there so they can run on it again and again. And they don't have to come back up to new and interesting ideas. Let's keep going. This is just stupidity up at this point. Governor Whitmer tweeted out, "It's official! Yesterday evening I carried out my duty to sign certificates of ascertainment recognizing a slate of Michigan electors for President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris." And of course, if this was signing the certification for Trump, they wouldn't be doing the ceremony off this. This is all reality television bullshit to try and pander to the base so that if this does wind up getting overturned in court, and by the way, this does still have to go to the courts, that people think, oh, they stole it! They stole it! We're going to go out and riot and burn the cities down, and we're going to hold this country hostage until they kick that evil orange man out, and we're just going to keep burning shit until then. Let's keep going. From the Daily Wire, Rashida Tlaib accused of anti-Semitism. Oh wait, there's more. You see, with something like Rashida Tlaib being accused of anti-Semitism, that's not the headline. That's the name of the newspaper. Rashida Tlaib accused of anti-Semitism after lashing out over Biden's Secretary of State pick from Emily Zanotti. In light of being given a go-ahead to prepare for a possible transition, Joe Biden is expected this week to announce his picks for potential presidential cabinet positions. That will probably not go through because McConnell still has to approve them, and, well, they are war hawks, so McConnell actually might go up and do this because, we gotta go back and figure out what to do about the Middle East, and we can't draw troops down because my Raytheon check is going to be smaller unless we're going to war over there. Few Democrats, it seems, responded at the selection with enthusiasm. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back and say who it was. On Monday, Team Biden reportedly floated Obama administration alum Antony Blinken as Biden's pick for Secretary of State. Few Democrats, it seems, responded to the selection with enthusiasm, according to the Associated Press, which indicated Monday that Blinken is likely to take up the Obama-era foreign policy strategy, a strategy progressives like the squad member, Representative Rashida Tlaib, apparently believe is too focused on the United States' only Democratic ally in the Middle East. By only Democratic ally in the Middle East, do you mean Saudi Arabia? The UAE? Yemen? Or are you going with Israel? Because we have more allies over there right now. So long as he doesn't suppress my First Amendment right to speak out against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's racist and inhumane policies, the Palestinian people deserve equality and justice, Tlaib sneered on Twitter, in response to a positive review of Blinken from Senator Bernie Sanders, former campaign chief Faiz Shakur. At first, Tlaib's comments didn't quite make sense. After all, as the AP notes, Blinken, a former Deputy Secretary of State and Deputy National Security Advisor, is not likely to be nearly as friendly to Israel as any Trump administration official, something the notorious boycott, divest, sanction supporter Tlaib should be pleased about. But social media users quickly pointed out that Tlaib was commenting on Blinken's background, not his credentials, according to Fox News. Biden names a Jew to his cabinet. What's Rashida's response? Well, as long as that Jewish pick... Can I say that on YouTube? Huh? If YouTube goes down, bye-bye. Doesn't stop me from focusing my hatred on one country, Israel. Then he's a good Jew. It's not your 1A right that you're trying to protect, but your vile Jew hatred. That's all yours, replied Dov Hicken, former Democratic New York State Assemblyman. Yeah, it's all about just taking down Israel. And yes, if you're taking an Obama-era alum, there's a lot of assumption there that he's just going to go and bend the knee to whatever it is that Iran wants. Because, for whatever reason, and I don't know why, if you're doing Middle East policy, you're either on the side of Israel or Persia. If that doesn't scream revelations in your head, I don't know what will. But here it comes. So, yeah. Tlaib is an anti-Semite. This, like I said, that's not the headline. That's the name of the newspaper. Spartan says Bitcoin is at 19,182.32. For those of you who are into Bitcoin. I got a couple op-eds here to talk about here. Then we'll finish out with the rest of the news and do something that No, we're not going to do something I'm thankful for, because we're going to hold off on that for tomorrow. Because tomorrow is Thanksgiving, and that's the day to be thankful for things. So we're not going to have a cold closer off this. But let's check out these two op-eds. From the New York Times, a former newspaper. Republicans, not Biden, are about to raise your taxes. So, and I got this from a Styx video yesterday. Styx went out and pointed out correctly the fact that the left right now is preparing to raise your taxes and find a way to blame the evil orange man for it. And a part of that does come off the fact that in order to sell this to Democrats in the House to get it passed, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, in order to do that, they had to put a sunset on it. And Biden is not going to renew this. He said day one he's going to dismantle the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which is going to raise your taxes, but they're sitting there right now ready to tell you that it was Trump that's raising your taxes and Republicans, not Biden. Let's read just a little bit of this here from Joseph E. Stiglitz. The Trump administration has a dirty little secret. It's not just planning to increase taxes on most Americans. The increase has already been signed, sealed, and delivered, buried in the pages of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. President Trump and his congressional allies hoodwinked us. The law that they passed initially lowered taxes for most Americans. Wait, are you admitting that this lowered taxes for most Americans? Because, for the last 3 years you've been saying, well, this was a tax hike on Americans, and it just cut taxes for his rich buddies. Everybody else had paid higher taxes. But it built in automatic step tax increases every 2 years that begin in 2021 and that by 2027 would affect nearly everyone, but people at the top of the economic hierarchy. All taxpayer income groups with incomes of $75,000 and under, that's about 65% of taxpayers, will face a higher rate in 2027 than in 2019. For most, in fact, it's a delayed tax increase dressed up as a tax cut. How many times have you heard Trump and his allies mention that? A lot. They wanted to make the tax cuts permanent. That was a cornerstone of the Trump campaign. So yes, I'm not even going to go too far into this because I've already caught 3 lies in this article. And it's a lengthy article, and we're only like a third of the way through, and I've already caught 3 lies in this. No, Trump is not planning to raise your taxes. He put a sunset in to make sure that he could sell it to Democrats. And set that sunset to go into effect under the next presidency, in case he didn't win. So that person would be increasing your tax. Have you ever seen a Democrat sign a tax cut into law? Ever. Even if they decided to propose another bill to get out there, to continue this or extend it. Do you think Biden is going to sign this? No, man, no, this tax cheat, man, and I'm going to get rid of that right away. He ran on raising your taxes. And you're surprised now that the New York Times is running cover for him? No. He ran on raising your taxes. He ran on that. He said it on stage. He said, I'm going to raise your taxes. But they're going to sit here and carry water for him, and their brain-dead reader base is going to sit back and lap it up and not question it. That's the worst part, is they're not going to question it. Question everything. All right, next op-ed here comes from MSDNC. And I'm not going to go too far into this because I actually want to sit down and do a solo video or an op-ed of my own and actually take this and pick this apart even further. Because there's a lot of information here that I think that we need to know and sit down and discuss. But I actually want to do something more focused on this. So we're just going to go over this lightly right now. From MSDNC. Imagine if Kyle Rittenhouse was Muslim. If Kyle Rittenhouse was named, say, Khalid Rehman, we know things will look very, very different. From Mehdi Hassan. On Friday, Kyle Rittenhouse, the teenager accused of killing 2 people during the protest in Kenosha, Wisconsin, posted his $2 million bail. My first reaction, imagine if Rittenhouse was a Muslim. If that's your first reaction, then you have got serious identity politics problems. Imagine if the 17-year-old's name was not Kyle Rittenhouse, but say Khalid Rehman. Would people be hailing him as a hero, a martyr, or even my president? Would the My Pillow guy or the kid from Silver Spoons have helped him crowdsource Khalid's $2 million bail? Would his mother be treated sympathetically as a guest on Fox News? Would conservative news anchors be praising him for maintaining order? Would Republican lawmaker be urging him to run for office? Would President Donald Trump have defended him from the White House podium? Well, there are a few things that we want to unpack here. First, if everything in a vacuum was exactly the same, just the color of his skin was different, because I assume that Mehdi Hassan means a brown Muslim, not like Linda Sarsour or something. So I'm sure that he's equating this more to Arab than Muslim than anything. If everything else was the same in a vacuum, and he went out to defend Kenosha, the town that he worked in, and wound up shooting 3 left-wing protesters in self-defense. Yes, I know that there would be some out there that would be turning around and calling for his head. I know for a fact there would be. But everything else in a vacuum, I do think that the vast majority would be out there praising him for that, for the fact that he was doing something patriotic. But now we've got to go right down the rest of the ideology. First off, as a Muslim raised in Antioch, Illinois, would he even be of the same ideology? Or would he be on the side of the protesters? Who would he have shot? What would he be up there for? Would he be up there protesting? Would he have been on Grosskreuz's side? There's so much to unpack with this. In a vacuum, all other factors the same. I do think that there would be some dissenters, but I think for the most part, the people would be treating him the same. Would MSDNC be treating him differently if he was a Muslim? If he was a Muslim guy that shot some people, and now they were calling for his prosecution, possibly because he was with the protesters. Would anybody be talking about this? Would the story even see the light of day? Would it get buried instantly? There's so much else going on with this, and like I said, I want to take some time and actually pick this apart and see what all the scenarios are around this. All right. Let's keep going. From Vice. I can do that comfortably, knowing that I'm about to read from Vice. Penguin, Random House staff confront publisher about new Jordan Peterson book. During a tense town hall, staff cried and expressed dismay with the publishing giant's decision to publish Beyond Order 12 More Rules for Life. You know, I still have yet to read 12 Rules for Life. I've got it sitting on my bookshelf over there. And I'd like to sit down and read it. I like Jordan Peterson's lectures. I'd like to sit down and see what it is that what he's actually sat and written. But I never have the time. I need to do more reading. But let's see what Manisha Krishnan has to say. Several Penguin Random House Canada employees confronted management about the company's decision to publish a new book by controversial Canadian psychologist Jordan Peterson at an emotional town hall Monday, and dozens more have filed anonymous complaints, according to 4 workers who spoke to Vice World News. On Monday, Penguin Random House Canada, Canada's largest book publisher and a subsidiary of Penguin Random House, announced it will be publishing Beyond Order, 12 More Rules for Life by Peterson, to be released in March of 2021. The book will be published by Portfolio in the US and Penguin Press in the UK, both part of the Penguin Random House empire. 4 Penguin Random House Canada employees who did not want to be named, of course they didn't, due to concerns over their employment, said the company held a town hall about the book on Monday, during which executives defended the decision to publish Peterson, while employees cited their concerns about platforming someone who is popular in far-right circles. He's an icon of hate speech and transphobia, and that fact that he's an icon of white supremacy, regardless of the content of the book. I'm not proud to work for a company that publishes. A junior employee who is a member of the LGBTQ community and who attended the town hall told Vice News. Another employee said, people were crying in the meeting about how Jordan Peterson has affected their lives. Okay. Where did the scary Kermit man touch you? They said one coworker discussed how Peterson had radicalized their father, and another talked about how publishing the book will negatively affect their non-binary friend. Don't read the book. If you want to judge a book by its cover or its author, then don't read the fucking book. You idiot. And meanwhile, Jordan's just sitting here. Well, I got out of rehab now, and I'm writing the book to help, because I helped construct my life, and nobody knows what's in the book, but they just want to put the book down, and I'm going to go and eat another steak at this point, because that's all I do. I eat steak and water and nothing else. So, yeah, they're crying over the fact that this publishing company is publishing a book. Don't work for the company if you've got that much of a problem for it. I'll take my book somewhere. I'm sure somebody will publish me. I could independently publish if I wanted to, because I've got the money from all these tours that I do. I'll have to have a lower grade of steak if I have to publish it myself, but I could publish it myself, I suppose. All right. And now we've got a couple about Ghislaine. Ghislaine, as the already conservative likes to call her. Ghislaine Maxwell in quarantine after New York City federal jail staffer tests positive for COVID. From Stephen Rex Brown. Ghislaine Maxwell is in quarantine at a Brooklyn federal jail after a staffer working near her cell tested positive last week for coronavirus, court filings revealed on Monday. The British socialite is awaiting trial on charges of grooming victims for Jeffrey Epstein, who didn't kill himself, tested negative on November 18th for COVID and is showing no symptoms, Assistant U.S. Attorney Maureen Comey wrote in a letter filed in the Manhattan Federal Court. Maxwell, 58, will remain in quarantine at the Metropolitan Detention Center on the Sunset Park waterfront for 14 days. During that period, she'll only be permitted out of her cell 3 days per week for 30 minutes. Wow. Get your tinfoil out here, because it seems like something's being planned here. Maxwell's defense team has argued the pandemic protocols at MDC, as well as special measures to prevent the accused madam from killing herself like Epstein, have made it difficult for her to prepare a defense. Comey wrote that Maxwell had more privileges than other inmates, even in quarantine. As was the case 3 months ago, the defendant continues to have more time to review her discovery than any other inmate at the MDC, even while in quarantine. The defendant also has as much, if not more time, as any other MDC inmate to communicate with her attorneys, even while in quarantine, Comey wrote. The coronavirus pandemic prompted a lockdown at federal jails beginning in March. Attorney visits have recently resumed in limited fashion, but family visits remain off limits. Suddenly, Ghislaine Maxwell has died of COVID. Mysterious. Weird. And of course, because of what they're doing here and all the concerns that they're seeing off of this year, the last one that we'll do today is from CNBC. Jailers interrupt Ghislaine Maxwell's sleep every 15 minutes to check if she's still breathing, lawyer says. From Dan Mangan. The lawyer for Ghislaine Maxwell on Tuesday complained to a federal judge that the accused accomplice of sex criminal Jeffrey Epstein is being overmanaged in jail, which includes having her sleep interrupted every 15 minutes by guards with a flashlight, checking to see whether she is still breathing. Maxwell's lawyer also said that the British socialite is not being given enough time in Brooklyn, New York federal jail to review documents related to her criminal case and to prepare the defense of her life. The complaint comes 15 months after Maxwell's former boyfriend, Epstein, died from what has been officially ruled a suicide by hanging in another federal jail in New York City, where the wealthy money manager was being held on child sex trafficking charges. Weeks before he died, Epstein was found on the floor of his jail cell, semi-conscious with marks on his neck, in what was his first apparent suicide bid. They're planning something. Something's being plotted here. Something's happening here. So, and honestly, if you're being woken up every 15 minutes, that could drive you into sickness and possibly depression, mania, and suicide. So, yeah, something's getting planned here. I don't know what it is. I don't know if she's getting ready to talk and they're trying to shake her up, throw her in solitary without her having done something to throw her in solitary, or what's going on with this, but something doesn't smell right with this, and I've got a feeling that some story is going to be popping up here at some point in the near future. And that is going to be it for the news for the day here. We will be back here tomorrow. No video games tomorrow night because it's Thanksgiving. I don't know what's going to be in the background for me tomorrow, but we will be back here tomorrow, one way or another. Taking calls, hearing what you guys are thankful for, doing a little bit of news, doing a little bit of uplifting stuff. Too much news. Too much bullshit. We need a break. And we'll get that break hopefully tomorrow. We'll be back here, take some calls, take some live chat, see what you guys are doing. Do a lighter show, but we're going to keep on going because that will keep us on the even fives for the week here for Contemporary. That way I don't have to sit and figure out what day of the week it is and what number we're on. I'm greedy like that, you know. Join us if you can, but I'd rather you spend the time with your family. We'll have some calls in. We'll have some conversations. It'll be fun. It'll be a fun day because we do way too much news here. So hopefully at that point we will see you tomorrow for at least a little bit here. I'd love to hear what you guys are thankful for throughout the year in this crazy year. Otherwise, we'll be back here on Friday for more of a news-focused show. Either way, it'll be called Contemporary. So, we'll see you either tomorrow or on Friday. Until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.